There's a reason most men never truly move on after a breakup. It's not because they don't want to heal, it's because they keep reaching for something outside to fix what's broken inside. They chase texts, timelines, and tactics. They obsess over what was said, what was left unsaid, and the silence that followed. But what if I told you that none of that actually matters? What if the answer has nothing to do with her, and everything to do with you? This isn't just about getting someone back. It's about becoming someone you never lost. And that starts by facing the hardest truth of all. You're not stuck because she's gone. You're stuck because part of you still believes you're worth left with her. In this video, we're going to go deeper than strategy, deeper than technique. You're going to learn how to stop reliving what broke you and start rebuilding the man you were always meant to be. This is not a linear process. It will challenge you. But if you stay with it, if you listen all the way through, you might just begin to understand something most never do. You don't need to get her back to feel whole again. You only need to come back to yourself. Welcome to Stoic Station, a space for men who are ready to stop chasing closure and start living with clarity. If this is the kind of growth you've been searching for, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because what we're about to explore could change everything. Now let's begin. There's a moment after the breakup when your mind becomes a loop. You revisit conversations, dissect her tone, try to decode silence. You imagine what could have been said differently, what you should have done, what you didn't see coming. It becomes a cycle, quiet but relentless. And even though days pass emotionally, you're stuck in that same place. Time moves on, but you don't. Here's the truth most men avoid facing. The past is just a memory. It doesn't exist anywhere but inside you. The real problem isn't what happened, it's that your energy still lives there. You wake up every day with the weight of yesterday pressing against your chest, not because it has power, but because you haven't let it go. You hold on to the pain like it owes you something, but pain never owes, it only asks. And right now, it's asking you one thing. Will you carry this forever, or will you set it down and begin again? Every time you revisit what went wrong, you keep her frozen in that version, and yourself too. You tie your identity to the man she left instead of the one you're becoming. But you are not who you were at your lowest moment. You are not defined by rejection, silence, or loss. Let this be the moment you stop building your future with the bricks of your past. You don't need to rewrite what happened. You need to release your need to relive it. Because healing doesn't come from understanding every detail. It comes from surrendering the need to control what's already done. And that's where the real shift begins, not with her, but with you. We've been taught to chase results, tactics, rules, techniques. Say this, wait that many days, post something to make her notice. But none of it works if the man using them is still broken inside. Forget tactics, forget appearing cool. What truly changes the outcome isn't what you do, it's who you are while doing it. The turning point in my own journey didn't come from clever strategies. It came from a single, undeniable realization. The technique that worked wasn't magic. It was improving my self-concept. That changed everything. Self-concept is how you see yourself when no one's looking. It's the quiet beliefs you carry about your worth, your strength, your place in someone else's life. If you see yourself as the man who was left, you'll act like it, hesitant, apologetic, needing to prove your value. But if you start seeing yourself as the man who is deeply grounded, worthy of love without performance, people respond differently. She will too. Your self-concept is a frequency, and just like a radio tower, people only tune in to what you're broadcasting. If you're putting out desperation, you attract more distance. If you're rooted in quiet confidence, you pull in curiosity, connection, and ultimately, respect. And this isn't about pretending. It's not about puffing your chest or rehearsing lines in the mirror. It's about doing the work, silently and consistently, to become someone who no longer needs external approval to feel whole. Because the moment you start showing up as a man who doesn't need her to come back, but who is fully ready to receive her if she does, everything shifts. And here's the part no one tells you. You were never unworthy, but somewhere along the way, your identity got hijacked by pain. You started believing that being left meant you were lacking. You started replaying her silence as a judgment of your value, and without realizing it, you began shrinking inside the echo of her absence. That version of you isn't weak, but he is unfinished. He needs guidance, not guilt. He needs a mirror, not manipulation. So start there. Ask yourself, who am I when no one's validating me? What do I believe I deserve in a relationship without needing to earn it through effort? This isn't just mindset, it's magnetic. Because when you align your inner world with truth, not fear, not regret, not shame, you begin to attract things that match that truth. The version of her that once adored you, she's not gone, but she won't return to a man who is still seeking permission to feel valuable. She will return to the man she once couldn't look away from, the man who didn't beg, who didn't fold, who simply knew who he was. And if you've forgotten who that man is, let this be the moment you remember. You are not chasing her, you are reclaiming you. Not to win her back, but to become the kind of man who never loses himself again. Let go of yesterday. Look your pain in the eye without flinching, and speak this quietly to yourself and to the world. I am no longer trying to fix what broke me. I am rebuilding myself from the ground up. When you do that, something powerful happens. She might return, or someone better might arrive. Or you may find that you no longer need either, because you've already come home to the only person who truly mattered all along, you. But understanding the past and rebuilding your self-concept is only the beginning. Insight without action changes nothing. At some point you have to stop reflecting and start becoming. And for me, that shift didn't come from theory. It came from experience. Let me show you what that actually looked like. There was a time when I truly believed that if I said the right words, showed the right emotions, or made the right moves, she would come back. I clung to strategies like a drowning man clings to driftwood, texts, long letters, reaching out to mutual friends. Every action came from the same place, desperation. And desperation, no matter how well dressed, always reveals itself. When she didn't respond, I doubled down. I tried harder. I read between silences that had nothing to say. I convinced myself that if I proved how much I cared, she'd understand. That somehow effort would equal reconciliation. But nothing worked, and deep down I knew why. I wasn't trying to win her back. I was trying to validate the version of myself that felt rejected. What I was chasing wasn't her love, but my own sense of worth. Everything changed the day I stopped, not out of pride, not out of spite, but out of clarity. I saw myself clearly for the first time, not as a victim, but as a man who had become disconnected from his core. I wasn't living, I was reacting. So I made a quiet decision. I wouldn't chase anyone who had already made the decision to walk away. Instead, I would become someone who didn't need to be chased at all. I started rebuilding, not out of revenge, but out of respect. I worked on my body, not to impress her, but to reclaim it. I challenged my mind, not to appear wise, but to become grounded. I poured my energy into a project I had been neglecting for years. The one thing that made me feel alive before the relationship ever began. And months later, she came back. Not because I reached out, not because I posted something for her to see, but because the energy had shifted. I no longer carried the vibration of someone waiting. I wasn't searching for her, I had found myself. When we met again, she didn't say, "I missed you." She looked at me and said, "You feel different now, like a man who doesn't need anything from me." And she was right. I didn't need her. I chose her, and there's a world of difference between the two. That's what most men get wrong. They believe love can be earned through persistence, but the truth is simpler and harder to accept. You can't beg someone into loving you again. You wouldn't beg a company to rehire you after being rejected. You wouldn't stalk their website, email the CEO, and read forums trying to decode what went wrong. That would make you look unstable. Yet, somehow, we think it's okay to do the emotional equivalent when it comes to someone we once loved. That's not strength, that's chaos. And chaos doesn't inspire attraction, it repels it. The opposite of love isn't indifference, it's fear. Fear is what makes you chase. Fear is what makes you perform. Fear is what keeps you trapped in the illusion that if you just do more, you'll be enough. But real power comes when you let go, not because you're giving up, but because you're finally growing up. It took losing control to realize where real power lives, not in chasing, but in changing, not in convincing her, but in becoming someone you'd choose yourself. And that shift doesn't happen all at once. It's built quietly, through daily choices that reshape who you are from the inside out. Let me walk you through the steps that did exactly that for me. Step 1. Gratitude. Every morning offers a quiet invitation, a chance to begin again, not with noise, but with presence. You woke up, you're breathing. The world didn't end. That alone is a win. Gratitude isn't just a mindset, it's a frequency. It shifts your energy from lack to abundance, from longing to calm sufficiency. And energy, more than anything else, creates attraction. Begin each day by naming 3 things you're grateful for. Speak them out loud. Let them land. Not as a performance, but as a practice. Because reality doesn't respond to the words you use. It responds to the state you're in. And a man rooted in gratitude doesn't grasp or chase. He stands still and receives. Step 2. Define a goal. You say you want her back, but what does back really mean? Is it a few late-night texts? A casual conversation that leads nowhere? Is it about sleeping together again, or is it about building something better, stronger and more honest than what you had before? You need to be specific. Do you want marriage? Then own that. Do you want partnership, depth and commitment? Say it. To yourself first, not to her, because if you're not clear, no one else will be either. Women don't follow vague men. They follow men with direction. They respect men who aren't afraid to define what they want and lead themselves there. Even your subconscious needs that kind of clarity. When you define what you truly want, not just emotionally, but practically, you stop settling for breadcrumbs. You stop accepting moments of attention in place of real connection. Too many men are chasing shadows. They want her back, but they can't articulate what that truly looks like beyond temporary relief. But if you slow down, get honest, and define what getting her back actually means to you, something shifts. You stop chasing and start choosing, and that's where the real power begins. Step 3. Forgiveness. This part isn't easy, but it's non-negotiable. You must forgive yourself for the neediness, the overthinking, the moments when you lost yourself trying to hold something together. And just as importantly, you must forgive her for the silence, the confusion, the ways she failed to meet you where you hoped she would. Because the truth is simple and sobering. You cannot be brave without first being afraid. And forgiveness is an act of courage. It's you choosing to stop dragging the weight of the past into a future that's trying to be different. No one returns to a man still stuck in blame. They return to the man who let go, because he finally let the story end. Step 4. Visualize. Close your eyes, not to escape, but to return. Return to the part of you that still remembers peace, warmth, presence. The version of you that isn't grasping for her attention, but quietly holding a vision of something real, something whole. You're not just imagining her texting you. You're not rehearsing apologies or replaying old conversations. You're creating a new experience that speaks directly to your subconscious. Picture this. You're standing in the kitchen. Morning light touches the countertops. She walks in with ease, no tension in her step. She kisses you on the cheek, casually, like it's always been that way. Coffee is brewing. The house is quiet, not because something's missing, but because everything is in its place. There's no urgency, no apology, no past to fix. Just peace, just presence. That's not fantasy. That's emotional rehearsal. When you visualize from the end, you're not just wishing, it's embodiment. You're showing your nervous system what it feels like to be chosen again. You're teaching your subconscious to expect stability, affection, calm, not chaos or confusion. You don't need to overthink it. 10 seconds before bed, in stillness. Let the feeling rise. Let the scene loop. Not until it's perfect, but until it feels familiar. You're not creating a movie. You're planting memory. And when the subconscious believes something is already happening, reality starts bending in that direction. Don't visualize her coming back to fix the past. Visualize the version of you who has already moved beyond it. The man who doesn't need to chase love because he lives in alignment with it. He doesn't wait for it to knock. He creates space for it to return. That's how the shift happens, not through pressure, but through presence, not through obsession, but through embodiment. You're not trying to manifest a moment. You're remembering who you were before fear took the wheel. And you're allowing yourself to become that man again, on purpose, with clarity, and without apology. Because when the internal world aligns with that vision, the external world follows. Not because you forced it, but because you finally believed it. Step 5. Change your reactions. You saw her out with someone else. Maybe you heard she's doing just fine without you, laughing, living, moving on. And in that moment, something inside you clenches. You want to reach out. You want to remind her. You want to prove you still matter. But here's the question you have to ask yourself. If she doesn't text you on your birthday, are you going to fold? You don't control what she does. You never did. But you do control who you become in the face of what hurts. And that's where your strength lives, not in how loud you respond, but in how steady you remain. The world mirrors back the energy you carry. If you react like a man who's wounded, lost, or needy, life will give you more reasons to feel that way. But if you respond with calm, clarity, and quiet dignity, you rise above the old pattern, and she will notice, even if she doesn't say a word. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about mastering the pause between stimulus and response. You don't react, you respond. Not with bitterness, not with panic, but with power, restraint, and the grace of someone who remembers his worth. Step 6. Self-concept. At some point, you have to stop scrolling through advice videos late at night, hoping to find the one phrase or technique that will bring her back. You don't need another strategy. You need a mirror. And the question you should be asking isn't, how do I get her to miss me? It's this: who do I need to become so that losing me feels like a tragedy? This is where everything shifts, from tactics to identity. Because when you change your internal world, the external one has no choice but to follow. The world is a mirror. When you change, she changes. And not just her, everyone around you feels the difference when your self-concept rises. You can't affirm something once and expect results. You have to live it. Say it daily. Breathe it. Integrate it into how you carry yourself. I am confident. I am chosen. I am enough. Not because someone told you that, but because you decided to believe it for yourself. Then move through life like a man who knows that truth. Speak less. Observe more. Let your energy fill the room before your words do. Stop trying to be fixed in someone else's story and start owning your own. You are not here to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it before. You're here to reclaim it quietly and let the world adjust accordingly. That's when people take notice. Not because you asked for attention, but because you embodied presence. Step 7. Live your life. You don't wait to feel ready, you don't wait to feel whole, and you definitely don't wait for a message from her to start living again. That's not healing. It's pausing your life until someone else gives you permission to press play. There's a deeper truth here that most men overlook. You don't wait to feel good to live your life. You act as if, and the feelings will follow. Not because you're pretending, but because action leads emotion. Every time you step into something that moves you forward, even slightly, you remind yourself that you're still here, still capable, still becoming. So go out, say yes. Try that new restaurant you've always passed by. Book that weekend trip, even if it's solo. Sign up for the class, take the hike, call the friend you haven't seen in months. Do the things that used to light you up before the relationship, before the heartbreak, before the waiting. Stop measuring your aliveness by her attention. You weren't created to orbit around someone else's decision. You were meant to build a life so rich, so full, so grounded, that anyone who gets to walk beside you sees it as a privilege, not a favor. This isn't about faking happiness. It's about refusing to let your life stall in emotional limbo. The man who lives fully without apology becomes magnetic, not because he's trying to be, but because he's aligned. She will find you, no matter what it takes, once you become the version of you she fell for again. Or maybe someone even better. You don't need to chase her to prove your worth. You just need to remember it and live like it matters. Not for her, not to win her back, but because you finally realize you were always the thing worth returning to. I didn't share these words as a coach or someone who has it all figured out. I shared them as a man who had to learn, often through silence, mistakes, and letting go, what most of us aren't taught until the damage is done. These aren't just ideas, they're experiences. They've been lived, endured, and slowly rebuilt from the inside out. I know what it's like to wake up with a pit in your stomach, to overthink every silence, to carry the ache of absence like a second skin. I know what it's like to believe that if you just do more, she'll see you differently. And I know the quiet devastation that comes when that doesn't happen. But I also know this. The power isn't in getting her back. It never was. The real power is in remembering who you were before you made her the center of your identity. It's in building a self-concept so rooted, so stable, that whether she returns or doesn't, your life still moves forward. Because this entire journey isn't about proving anything to her, it's about proving something to yourself. You are not the man who was left behind. You are the man who walked through the fire, learned from the pain, and chose to become more, not out of bitterness, but out of purpose. And that's the lesson I hope stays with you. You don't wait for love to find you again. You become love, and everything that's meant for you aligns in its own time. Stop asking how to win her back. Start asking how to win yourself back. Because when you do, the question of whether she returns becomes far less important than the kind of man you become if she does. That's the real victory in all of this. Not in rewriting the past, but in reclaiming the present with strength, clarity, and self-respect. That's the man she won't be able to forget. And more importantly, That's the man you won't abandon ever again. Let that be your standard. Let that be your starting point, and let the rest take care of itself. And now we've come to the end of this conversation, but not the end of your journey. If something in these words spoke to you, even quietly, I invite you to stay connected. This space exists for men who are choosing to grow through the silence, through the loss, through the rebuilding. If you found value here, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Station. Your presence here matters more than you know. Until next time, keep moving forward, not to chase anything, but to become everything you were meant to be.